When exactly the Great Wars began is hotly debated, perhaps even as far back as the turn of the 20th century. But all agree that they ended with the dropping of the first atomic bombs and the beginning of the nuclear age in 1950. As fears of global annihilation mounted atop crippled economies, shattered infrastructure, and devastated populations. Treaties and surrenders saw the wars finally come to an end. The International Peace Coalition was formed of victors and the defeated alike to oversee recovery, reconstruction, and building the foundation for a lasting peace. Over the years, the coalition found itself overstretched and overburdened, and many nations were excluded from the global recovery. The gap between developed and developing nations widened by the day as the former saw unprecedented prosperity, and the latter wallowed in poverty and apathy among the ashes of war. As revolution and violence sparked around the world, the coalition could only muster a limited response, prompting the formation of the Global Security Alliance in 1962. By the dawn of the 21st century, the International Peace Coalition had been reduced to what was affectionately known as an armed charity, widely regarded as corrupt and ineffectual. The post-war status quo was firmly in the hands of the Alliance, who in turn were regarded as having their own selfish interests in mind. However, during the 1980s, as new technology and energy sectors came to prominence outside of the Alliance's sphere of influence, new global powers began to pursue their own interests. A number of historic rivals to the nations of the Alliance, as well as those who could never develop or rebuild in the post-war era, formed their own economic and military alliance, which would form into a singular world power, the Union. After the turn of the millennium, the Alliance nations' preparations for conflict would, in turn, unify them into a new supernation in its own right, the Federation. Over the decades, tensions continued to mount as the Federation and Union expanded their spheres of influence and continued to build their arsenals. During that time, the participants would be given unusual nicknames. Before the Federation, Alliance military exercises would refer to Blufer as Eagles, owing to their use of eagle iconography, and to Opfer as Ravens as a means of contrast. Today, the monikers have become commonplace, with the Federation's eagle flag standing for pride and power as it preys on the weak, while the crafty Union Ravens pluck from the carrion of the developing world. The theme has carried on to all players on the world stage. The doves of the coalition struggle in vain to keep peace, while mercenary vultures circle the dead and dying. The small but defiant kestrels of the Accord use what little they can to guard themselves, while the magpies of the front loot and steal to continue their revolution. Hawks and falcons, other birds of prey, find themselves drawn into the frenzy. The world stands on the precipice of total war. When it comes, conflict will once again consume the world. All will be trapped with the eagles, ravens, and the rest Inside, the Birdcage,